Hi everybody and welcome to part 2 in my little mini series about my pencil lure, Penceel, and how you make it. If you haven't already seen part 1 where we cover all the work of making the master, I encourage you to follow the link here on screen to see that first. In this part we will cover the steps from making the mold from the master, making some internal parts, and cast a few lures. In part 1 we got as far as ending up with a finished master. Now we are ready to go ahead and make a mold from this. As in some of my other movies, I won't get too much into details on how you make the mold. If you're interested in mold making, I encourage you to see the film about making a 2-part silicone mold. In this movie I'll just leave some clips and stop where I think there's something interesting, and then we'll just see the finished result afterwards. Okay, about 20 hours has passed, and now I think we are ready to do the second part of the mold. So I'll just flip this over and let's see how it looks. Okay, looking quite fine. A few things I just need to clean up, and of course make the second half of the funnel. So I'll just do that, and then we are ready to pour in part 2. Well, both parts of the mold have now hardened, and I'm quite anxious to see how the result is. So let's just take it out. As you can see, 2 different batches of silicone on this one, but that doesn't matter. I'll start by opening up here by the funnel and see how it turns out. One spot there where the Vaseline didn't quite do it. That's a bit too bad. I'll just take like that. Well, I think it looks quite fine. I'll just stop the movie here to give you a few comments on the mold design. First of all, with long thin lures like the Penceel, it's best to pour in the resin vertically. This will help any bubbles to move to the end where they can easily be pushed out by squeezing the mold. With long and flexible molds like this, it's a good idea to add many guides along the sides to ensure that it is correctly aligned. Fast curing resin with glass bubbles quickly get a bit thick, so the funnel's entry to the mold should be fairly wide to ensure a good flow. Also, you should make a fairly big air vent channel to ensure that any trapped air can get out. So far. So we'll just have to try it. I think I just need to make some calculations on the weight. I assume that by reducing 10% I should also have an idea on how much weight should be inside and everything, but I'll have to try that out. So first I'll do a bit of calculating, and then I hope to hit it right, and then I will just have to test the first lures to see to check if their movement is okay. Before I start casting, I need to make the internal parts of the lure, and here I have a piece of the plastic pipe or tube I'm going to use, so I'll just cut off a piece of that like this. Now that should fit nicely into the mold. It does. And for weight, I've cut out a piece of lead sheet. From the old lure I have a fairly good idea of the size and the placement of the weight. So for me this time it will be fairly easy to figure out how much to use and where to place it. If you're going to make a lure like this on your own, I guess there's no other way than casting a few with different weights and different placements and try to figure out where where the movement will be like you want it. But I have a fairly good idea that as I only have reduced the same lure about 10%, I will also be able to reduce the weight about 10%, maybe a bit more, and then have the approximate same movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lead sheet and shape it around a screwdriver, where the shaft here is more or less the same thickness as the plastic tube. So I'll just do that. Okay, and I'll just use my vise here to press it together a bit, like that. And from my measurements on the old one, I know that it should be placed 4.5 centimeters from the rear, more or less like that. And then I can just take my plier here and make sure that the lead sheet stays where it should. So as you can see, the lure will be like this. If I hold it like this, the bottom part will always turn down. And I also have to make sure that I can easily bend the pipe a little. Okay, and now I think the placement is right. So I'll just, when I do the cast, I'll just place this one in the mold like this. Hopefully the lure will be rated correctly, and it will be standing upright. One thing you can do to make sure that the weight doesn't turn while you're handling the mold before you pour in the resin is to cut out a thin stripe of plastic. This is some plastic from overhead projector. So I'll just use this. I'll just open up the gap between the two sheets of lead a bit and press them together over the. I'll just take a scissor and cut off. Probably hard to see. I have about 2-3 millimeters of the plastic sticking out here, and just need to make sure that I have the right end, like that. And when I place that within the mold here, that should be positioned so it is lying between the two parts of the mold, and this will make sure that the weight doesn't turn. So that's a little thing I learned after making a few mistakes on that account. So for now I think we're actually ready to cast some lures, so I'll just get the resin ready, and then we'll be trying. The resin I use is this stuff from Easy Composites. I've just put it all to some other containers that makes it a little more easy for me to dispense in very small amounts. So apart from that, everything is like every time I cast lures. So I will just be leaving a few clips in here. If you want to know more about casting lures in resin, I advise you to see the basic lure making video for that. So I'll just go on and cast the lures. The resin have now had plenty of time to harden, so let's have a look at the result. Okay, looking very nice. The weight seems to be somewhat in the center. So, well, you can just use some sanding paper to sand off the edges here, and the rest I'll just I'll take my little saw here and cut those off. Like that. Like that. And then I can just take a knife. When you use glass bubbles in the resin, it has another advantage. It makes it very easy to carve. It is not as crisp and hard as if you have no glass bubbles in it. So it's very easy to shape if you want. And do the final trimmings here. Also the little fin I made to make sure that the weight was placed right, I can just cut that off with a knife as well. Actually, I don't even think I need sanding paper on this, unless it should be for wanting to give the paint a better surface to cling onto. I think the only thing to do now is to go and give these a test swim. At the moment we are below 0 degrees here Celsius here in Denmark, so I think most of the places I normally go to test my lures are actually frozen. So I don't know how exactly I will handle this, but I'll see if I can find a way to test the new lure. Probably won't paint it because it's much easier to see it once it's while it's nice and white. So I'll just use it as it is. Okay. Hey, fish on the new lure.